But I think the main things is at the end of the day, volleyball is volleyball. It's in the same 9x9 court, and the rules are the same. So we. Is that on the back of your shirt?
Yeah, it's on the back of the shirt.
You did. A little free shout out for you. And it doesn't matter who's on the other side of the net. You need to still execute to the best of your ability if you want a chance to win.
That's right, Brett Walsh. Welcome back, boys and girls, to the 9x9, the 81 square meters of the best volleyball coverage on the internet. It is Monday, July 10th. This is episode 77. My name is Rob St. Clair, live from Chicago. That is Everett Delorme, live from Toronto. Everett, it is over. It is playoff time. The men's VNL preliminary round is done. There are 16 teams left on the men's and the women's side combined to play for the VNL finals. Here's the bracket. Let's jump into it. The number 1 United States will take on the number 8 team France. Number 2 Japan takes on number 7 Slovenia. Number 3 Poland takes on number 6 Brazil. And number 4 Argentina takes on number 5 Italy. Serbia and the Netherlands barely miss the playoffs.
Pretty crazy. It literally came down to the wire. It came down to yesterday's game. France needed a win. Luckily, they were playing Germany. They got the job done. They snuck it in. That first place race also came down to the wire with the USA's win last night over Bulgaria. So, congrats first and foremost to United States of America, Rob. They were outstanding throughout this preliminary round. 9-3 dongs. 9-3 dongs. Their set ratio was exceedingly better than anyone else. In fact, if we were going by points, the USA would have been first without even having played that last game, right? Because that's how efficient they were throughout pool play.
That is a lot of 3 dongs.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit in Ottawa about how good the USA and hands down they've looked like the best team. I mean, you got to expect it when they're bringing back their entire roster. This is a roster that's been together for so long, but still, USA looks very, very good right now, and continue to do so throughout this last week in Anaheim.
Yeah, it was a very impressive week for the United States. We can quickly take a look at who did what in week 3 before we kind of talk about the standings of the whole preliminary round and go sort of team by team and talk about, who's doing what, who looks good. So 3 4-0 teams this week. Italy and Poland, not particularly surprising. They go to the Philippines, and they were the 2 best teams there pretty clearly. But Argentina with a 4-0 week in Anaheim, including an unbelievable match versus the U.S., which we'll certainly talk about.
If I have to say, Rob, if there's one team that's impressed me the most throughout this VNL, it's been Argentina.
I agree.
Like we got to see them in person in Ottawa. They are absolutely they're a really good team. I talked about it last show about how it pisses me off a little bit, but I also love watching this team play. They're so skilled. They're so young too. They've got some of the best young talents in the game. In Argentina, man, we're going to talk about it later. But Argentina, Italy, holy spicy first round match.
Spicy. So France goes 3-1. They did get 3 dong by the United States, which it turns out will be a quarterfinal matchup. But France going 3-1, including a head-to-head win over Serbia, one of their main challengers for that 8th spot. France does get into the playoffs. Brazil, Germany, Japan, Serbia, and Slovenia all go 2-2. Much better week for Germany. Not that it mattered for them. Serbia 2-2, not quite good enough to get to the playoffs. Bulgaria, Canada, Cuba, and the Netherlands all go 1-3, which made that relegation race pretty crazy. Iran goes 0-4, despite 3 of those losses being in 5. And China goes 0-4. And Everett, we might as well just talk about it. Thanks for participating to the Chinese. They have been relegated. They will try to stay in the VNL by way of the Challenger Cup. The relegation race is over. And
it was a tight one.
It was a tight one.
Buddy, it gave me some frights. I mean, at different points, there were different teams sitting there. You had Bulgaria, obviously losing to Canada, but then they picked things back up against they lost to Canada and Germany, and then they beat Iran. Iran was really the wrench that kind of switched everything.
They were
without Amin, they were losing left, right, and center. Right, like even like they had a role to play in last night's game against Cuba, because if they were able to 3-dong Cuba, just due to set ratio, Cuba would have been relegated. So it really, really came down to the wire for relegation here. But so long, China. I mean, what can I say? You're the only team in the tournament to not get a 3-dong. So by virtue of that, you are eliminated. Goodbye.
Thanks for participating. Good luck in the Challenger Cup. Let's take a look at the standings kind of from top to bottom. The 8 playoff teams, and we already talked about the United States. There's not that much to say. We look really good. We look
Really damn good.
really, really good. The only 2 losses, there's that one to Brazil in Ottawa when we kind of rolled out the bench, and then there's the 5-setter to Argentina on Friday night. Other than that, I agree, and it's not just because I'm American, that I think we look like the best team in the world right now.
Yeah, you absolutely do, and it's going to be interesting, Rob. United States haven't won an FIVB tournament since 2015
Yep.
at the World Cup,
That's
2014 since the World League. So is it time now for the USA to finally win its first FIVB in what, like 8-9 years?
I hope so. I really hope so. That's kind of what I've been talking about for the men for a couple of years now. That sure, we've been good. We've won good matches. We've performed well in big tournaments. We haven't won one, exactly like you said, since 2015. So maybe this could be the time. But to be honest, I was rooting hard yesterday for Germany to beat France, because if Germany had beaten France, France would have missed the playoffs, and Serbia would have been the 8th seed. And I would have felt way better about Serbia as the 8th seed than France as the 8th seed, even though we just beat them. So, like, it's not going to be easy for the U.S. I mean, stupid France, like, sandbagged the entire tournament. They barely make their way into the playoffs, and I mean, they won VNL last year. Obviously, they're extremely scary, and they give us as difficult of a 1-8 matchup as we possibly could have asked for. But if we get the most difficult, and if we get past that, then we'll get the winner of Argentina and Italy, which is also impossible. So our bracket road will not be easy by any means, but the level of volleyball that we're playing right now, it is very, very possible for us to win this VNL, and I would love it. It would be about time.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that once you get to the playoffs in the VNL, anything can happen, right? We saw it last year with Serbia on the women's side. Truly, like, once you get into these top 8 teams, almost like anyone can beat anyone. And there is a lot of spiciness going around, like especially Italy in that 5th spot. Now that they have all their guys back, like, that's a tough team to play against. They're the defending world and European champions. Poland is never going to be easy with everything that they have
until they get into the semifinals, in which case they'll probably lay down and die under the pressure like we're used to.
Hey, you know what? Let's just go by what's on paper for right now, because yeah, that is absolutely possible. And hey, Brazil is still Brazil, right?
That's right.
May not be, they may not be the Brazil of old that we're used to, but they still have Lucarelli, they still have Bruno, they still have Allen. Like, there's still so many quality teams here. But you're right, Rob. USA is looking damn good. And that first down round matchup is going to be spicy. It doesn't look like we're going to get Engapeth in it, and I think that is definitely something that moves the needle for France. Having him on the court, just in terms of his ball control, his court awareness, his creativity within the game, really just adds something to them. But still, France is never a team that you're going to lay down for and just kind of expect to win.
Definitely not. So moving on to Japan, who coming into this week was undefeated. And we were kind of asking the question, Everett, after they beat Brazil and after they had picked up some really good wins, like, okay, are they legit? Is Japan a contender? Does that Brazil match really move the needle for them to be considered a medal threat? And then they go out this week in the Philippines and they get kind of pushed around by both Poland and Italy, who I would say are definitely the 2 best teams they've played in the tournament so far, and they didn't quite show up to the same level against those 2 teams. Picked up their first 2 losses and dropped down to the 2 seed. What are your thoughts on Japan now having 2 great chances against other elite medal contenders and not really showing up all that well against either one?
I mean, it's tough with Japan, right? Because we normally see this from them. We normally see them do really, really good at the beginning events like this. Their style of play really leads to that. They don't make a lot of errors. They play really cohesively as a unit. But traditionally, we've kind of seen them fall off once they come against a team that can really put on a lot of pressure. And I mean, Poland and Italy, those are 2 of the best in the world. But if you're to ask me, like to me, a medal contender is a top 4 team. Yep. Do I think that Japan looks like a top 4 team right now? Yes, I absolutely do.
Really?
Right? Yeah, I think that I would slot them in ahead of right now. Like, I would go USA, Poland, and Italy would be like the top three, and I would slot in Japan at fourth, just ahead of like Brazil and Argentina and France, obviously.
I would put him at
Um,
6. I would put him
you
behind Argentina and France.
Ooh, I don't know so much about this. France normally with Engapeth, yes, absolutely, but Engapeth isn't here, right? This isn't
True.
the French of old. This isn't the dominating team that can kind of turn it on at any point without Engapeth. They have to work a lot harder for their wins. So yeah, like in this context of Volleyball Nations League and what we have in front of us, I would slot Japan in as the fourth best team.
Now, yeah, to be fair to Japan, they got absolutely 3 donged, 17, 19, 18 by Poland, but that was a throwaway game. They played the bench, no Sakita, no Ran Takahashi. Like that was a punt game, and I can't blame them for that. They've ridden their starters really, really hard this tournament. But the Italy game, that was the guys, and very competitive. I mean, Italy won the first 2 sets in overtime, and the numbers overall were pretty close, but it's still I still don't know if I see Japan grabbing a medal. I still don't know if I see it. They do have probably the easiest first round matchup. Now this is a stacked playoff field, but of the one team that I think I would be the most comfortable playing in the first round, it would probably be Slovenia, and Japan's got that. So Japan will very likely play in the semifinals, but they would probably get, they're going to get either Poland or Brazil. And do I see them beating Poland or Brazil in a semifinal game? No, honestly, I don't.
I don't. Especially like Poland is although let's be honest, if there's one team that could choke in the semifinals, like if I was Japan, I would want Poland in that semifinals.
For sure.
Which sounds ludicrous, but you're telling me you're going to beat Brazil twice? Like for the first time in 30 years, you're going to beat Brazil twice back to back. Not to mention the chat just came up and said that Leao will be playing in the final 8.
Oh, really? Okay, that's a big deal. That's a big addition.
If Leao's there and you've got Brazil back again, sorry, I don't see Japan beating Brazil again.
No.
Do I see Japan possibly beating Poland? Yes, because of Poland's tendency to choke and the way that Japan plays the game. Like if they show up with their full roster against Poland and they're bombing serves like they do, and they play well in transition, like they play good defense and well in transition like they do, then like and they have to they need to serve strong, have a really strong side out rate, and their transition game needs to be off the chain. I could see a world where Japan beats Poland and makes it to the finals.
I could see that too. You're kind of talking me into it, and I think that's a good segue into talking about Poland. I mean, they had a great week. They finally brought what we think is pretty close to the A team, minus only Tomasz Fornal. So there's still like some questions on what they're going to do on the outside. But Janusz was back. Kurek got hurt a little bit. So I'm curious to see what his status is going into the finals in Gdansk. But Kaczmarek had a good week off the bench for him. We already talked about, I think last week we talked about the reverse sweep of Slovenia, but Poland, I mean, they 3-donged Japan's B team, and they 3-donged Canada, which we can talk about later. But the 3-1 win over Brazil was very, very impressive for Poland. I was extremely impressed, especially with Wilfredo Leon, 20 for 33, 0 errors, 61% efficiency. Like that was some best player in the world stuff right there.
Yeah, and the thing is with Poland is that we knew it was just going to take them some time to get going, right? I don't think that they were looking at this VNL all that seriously, to be perfectly honest, right?
They knew they were going to the finals.
They knew they were going to the finals no matter what, so that doesn't matter. And like ultimately, like how many years in a row now have they choked at the Euros? A lot. Like the entire past decade, like them in Slovenia, it's just been Poland choking.
Yeah,
right?
you can't forget about Eurovolley. I think teams are really taking that tournament later this summer really seriously.
If you're a European team, right, as North Americans, we like NORCECA championships are an afterthought, right? And generally, most of the time, the USA sends a B team. Hopefully, they don't this year because they're hosting it. But as Europeans, I think Eurovolley is much more important than Nations League, than a World Cup if we still have them, than these types of events for sure. They're massive. Like just that that prestige, and I think you're just much more on your national stage when you're playing in Eurovolley. So yeah, Poland is moving up for A, Eurovolley, but then B, to qualify for the Olympics at the end of the summer. So this is a team that can turn it on and has the best players in the world. It's never been about getting from point A to point B, in which I means like getting to the finals. It's just always about finishing the job.
Right.
Kind of similarly a little bit to the USA, in the fact that the USA is always amongst that top group, but they just haven't been able to finish the job. Poland just does it in a little bit more dramatic and choking fashion.
Yeah, it's the particular flavor of failure that they like to display in semifinal rounds is usually pretty spectacular. So yeah, that I agree. That's always the question for Poland. They're playing at home. They've got the pressure of kind of needing to win a tournament. They haven't won one since, I guess it was the 2018 World Championship, right? Have they won a tournament since then?
No, they haven't won since 2018.
Oh,
I don't
man.
think. Let me pull that up right now.
But so that's the story for Poland. I agree. I think them going 4-0 this week with close to their best lineup is not surprising, and they played good volleyball. Great. Now, what are they going to do in the finals at home? I want to talk about Argentina. I want to spend some time talking about Argentina. You said it. That team is good. They are scary. They are fun to watch. They are really likable. Like you said on last week's show, we got to hang out with all three of the Lucianos and Lima and Loser and all those guys in Ottawa. They're fantastic. Donani is a fireball. He wants to just fight people. I love that. Agustin Loser finished the preliminary round of VNL with 51 blocks. 51 in 12 matches. That's way over 4 blocks per match. That's insane. He had 10 against Iran. 10 blocks in one match. The man is absolutely on fire. And we haven't seen Robert Landy Simone in a while. I might be ready to talk about Agustin Loser as potentially the best middle blocker on the planet.
I'm still gonna keep, like, for me, it goes like Simone 1, Loser number 2.
Okay.
Right. It's going to take a little bit to knock Simone. Like, Simone to me will still have that pedestal even after he's falling off a little bit, just because of how dominant he's been in all aspects of the game in the middle blocking position. But as a pure middle blocker right now, right, the only person that I can think, like, the way we're talking about Loser right now is how we talked about Kuba a few years ago when he was with Zaxa, and how effective he was, and especially because they're both smaller middles, and the way they play the game is different than a Simone or a Prodaskinen or a Daddy or one of the bigger middles. But Lozer, the way he plays the game is just so much fun to watch. He's so detailed. His blocking is so quick.
Amazing.
I remember when we were in Ottawa, I was like,
off the ground.
I was breaking it down. There's one of the videos that it's up on the TikTok, our TikTok, of how quick he is from being loaded to being in your face. The dude is transcending the sport right now. And I think you're going to start seeing a lot smaller middles who have his stature kind of try to emulate his game a little bit. I don't think they're going to be able to do it. There's some athleticism there that is truly off the chain, is truly unique to Lozer, but he's truly showing that as a smaller middle, you can still be absolutely dominant for your team. I do believe also that he finished second in scoring for Argentina. Let me double check.
Incredible, man! It's just such a treat to watch him. And
second in scoring.
And what do those two elite world class middles have in common? They spent a lot of their careers being set by Luciano Di Cecco, and that certainly helps on the offensive end. I think we should just talk about it now. I think we should talk about one of the great matches in VNL history right now. Argentina's 3-2 win over the United States, 43-41 in the fourth, a 50-minute set. Absolutely ridiculous. And then Argentina wins at 15-12 in the fifth. This was maybe my favorite match of the entire VNL, men's or women's so far. And my team lost. Like, that's how good it was.
Once again, like, this Argentina team is so easy to cheer for. They fight so hard. They play with passion. They have fun when they play. They play the right way. Like, there's so many reasons to cheer for this Argentina team. This was the longest set in VNL history, over 50 minutes, 43-41 is absolutely, it's basically 2 sets, right? Like you're basically, it's just like when in hockey, in the playoffs, hockey playoffs, and they go to like the 6th or 7th overtime. This is exactly what that is, but in the context of 1 set, absolutely massive. And
this was a 6-set match, and Bassi in the chat, he was making the joke on the Spicy Veebs Instagram account.
Shortest Argentina,
which you should all go follow that account. That Argentina just insists on playing 5-setters. I mean, they win a 5-setter against maybe the best team in the world in the US, and they win a 5-setter against one of the worst teams in the tournament in Iran. Like they just need to go 5. But this was electric. Nicolas Zerba in the middle, really good, deserves a shout out. 12 for 18, no errors. Loser 6 blocks, 15 points, just ridiculous. And Kukartsev, what an amazing luxury at backup opposite to start only 1 set and pick up 14 points. Him and Lima have the same scoring output. The way that they're using those 2 opposites is kind of awesome. I really like it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we saw Kukartsev really go off for the CEV Cup this year. Was it for Knack Roselaire?
Yeah,
and right. He turned things around for them and really helped them in the CEV Cup. And right now, in Argentina, I think you're looking at a situation where you have 2 opposites who can kind of give you similar numbers, and that's fantastic. If you're Argentina, would like to see them have a little bit more depth on the left side past Polonsky and Vincentine. I don't know how, like they have
Armoa, and so Armoa is going to go to play in Olsztyn this year, and I think this time next year Armoa is going to be an absolute superstar. So and that helps.
Who's the littler guy?
Ramirez? Martinez.
Martinez. Yeah.
And I like the way that they use him. So they've got Polonsky and Vicentin, who are the bigger, all around good volleyball players, both legit scorers. But if one of them struggles in reception, you put in the littler guy Martinez for him, and I think that works really well. And then you have like an up and coming superstar in Armoa as your 4th guy. I like that. I like the way Mendez is using him, and that's. We were thinking that was going to be Argentina's weak position with Conte kind of fading into retirement, but it looks like they're going to be set at that spot for the next 10 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, hey, Polonsky was one of the top scorers. Like I think he was just out of the top 10 in scoring, had 134 points, and that's pretty good especially for a team that really spreads out their offense. So yeah,
4th in service aces in the preliminary round.
There we go. And so I think this Argentinian team is a team that is standing on the doorstep of the top contenders. And everyone should be aware of them, especially when DeCecco is there. If DeCecco is there, then they can beat anyone. They truly can, and I think they showed it in this one, especially with how much fight they have. They have a lot of fight, and I love that.
Yeah, there were some opportunities in that overtime in the 4th set for the U.S. to just straight up win this match. I know there was a David Smith swing that people in the chat are talking about, but I just appreciated the entertainment value of this one. Just a treat to watch.
Yeah.
So back to the standings. We talked about Italy a little bit. I mean, I hardly watched any of the Italian games this week because they were all in the Philippines, but I'm not at all surprised that they had so much success. Who did they beat? Let's see. They beat Brazil. That's a good win. Then they beat Canada in 5, which is really good for the Maple Volleys to put up that fight. They beat Slovenia and they beat Japan. And that's Italy's A team. That's the world championship team other than Bolasso. And they look phenomenal. They look really good on the wings right now. I think Yuri Romano was top 5 in just about every category in the VNL. So what are your thoughts on Italy, especially having watched that Canada 5-setter?
I mean, Italy is Italy, right? This is the team that we know so well now. Especially, we watch the Superlega all year long, and we've watched them win Euros. We watch them win the World Championships. This is a team, much like France, that if they have their guys, they can kind of just show up and win. Excuse me. Sorry. Thank you. They can just kind of show up and win. They after their what we thought was a bad start in Ottawa, where they went 2-2. They've only lost 1 match since then. That was a 3-1 loss to Poland in week 2, where they still didn't have their entirety of their roster. So yeah, I'm expecting Italy to come out and have this type of result. I'm expecting them to be in this position. Italy is Italy. They're one of the best teams in the world, and they're going to continue to show it. And I think especially that win over Japan really solidifies it for me that this is, as bad as to say, Japan is almost that barrier, right? If you can't beat Japan to get into that top that top team, that top group of teams, then I'm not sure how legitimate, but they took care of them handily.
I think that's a pretty fair assessment. Like, it's Japan is a very good benchmark for very, very good volleyball teams, but maybe not medal contenders. And I think they are kind of the line Japan is between can you win a medal at VNL or probably not. And Italy, I think, is pretty clearly above that line when they have all their guys present.
I think just beating Japan is hard.
It is
right?
hard.
For
You got to play really
anyone
good ball.
is really hard to beat Japan because they play like a different style than everyone else, and they really make you work for it. So you have to go in there and be ready to play when you play against Japan. And I think Italy is up to that task, and then some. So yeah, I mean, when I look at it right now, there's three legitimate medal contenders. I mean, anything can happen, as we know here in the VNL, but it's USA, Poland, and Italy, right? And everyone else is kind of a step back. As much as I know Japanese fans hate to hear that at the moment.
They gotta just deal with reality a little bit on that one. If you go out and win a VNL medal, then we'll have that conversation. Brazil is Brazil. And I don't have that much more to say about Brazil, except that if they get Yoandi Leal back for the finals, which somebody was in the chat was saying is going to happen, then that changes them completely.
Massively changes things, right? When you add someone like Leal's caliber at any time, it's going to make a difference. And let's be honest, Leal carried this Brazilian team through the World Championships.
Absolutely,
he did. Once you inject him into this lineup, and one of the things I think I like about a team like Brazil taking a little bit of less, like you get to work some things in. Like Honorato, I think, has been the biggest surprise for Brazil throughout this tournament. And I think right now, Del Zotto is looking at this lineup and says, if Lucarelli isn't playing good, I know I have that confidence to put in Honorato alongside Leal
and
on the left side.
I don't think that before this VNL he had that. I don't think they knew who their third outside was before this tournament. So I think that's a huge.
Absolutely
not. That's a successful tournament if you find a guy that you can rely on like that.
Yeah, for sure. So Brazil is Brazil, right? As soon as you get them into a playoff situation, this is a team that knows how to win. This is a team that knows how to play. This is a team that knows how to get into medal situations. So yeah, if I'm Poland right now, that's going to be a spicy meatball matchup. That is honestly, I love all of these first round matchups.
And they just played. I mean, they just played this past week, and Poland took it 3-1. There's going to be a lot of very recent rematches in these quarterfinals, which is electric. But I mean, beating Brazil twice in one tournament going to be really hard to do no matter who it is.
Yeah. We are getting some stuff in the chat that Alan is injured. Can we confirm this?
I think it's just people talking about how Alan's always injured. And Alan is always injured, but I don't know exactly if or how he is injured right this second. If he is, and they have to go to that Roque guy, the giant lefty, then that's a huge step back because that guy is not particularly good. So
Roque
I don't know,
or
Abuba. Yeah, I don't know if Alan's hurt, but it wouldn't surprise me if he was. Slovenia. Good tournament for Slovenia. I mean, I'm not totally sure I was expecting them to make the playoffs. They weren't very good in VNL last year, but George Kretsu is doing a really good job with that team. I think they've got 7 and maybe even 8 guys. I think Giga Sterns had a pretty good tournament. They're 8-4. I don't know if I see them beating Japan. I don't know if they have that success in the play style, but I like the 3 outside hitter thing. I like Slovenia. I'm just not sure if I don't know if I see them getting a medal. They don't get that crazy home field advantage that they got in the World Championship last year.
They would really need to. I think they really need to have their best match of the tournament to beat Japan. I don't think it's out of the question for them to take on Japan like that. I think they're a very skilled team, and they're a highly offensive team that can put on a lot of pressure from the pins. Especially, they can put on a lot of pressure from the baseline, and they can put a lot of pressure from the pins. And due to that, especially that 3 outside nature, they play defense and they transition really well. I'm expecting a good game, but I expect Japan to take it. But I think it's good for Slovenia to make it here. I think they're kind of kicking themselves for losing to Bulgaria earlier on.
Yeah, week 1. That was a weird one.
If they just get that win, they're at 9-3. They're closer up. I mean, I don't know if it actually changes anything. The reality is, do you want to play any of those top 5 teams right now? No.
No. This playoff is absolutely loaded.
Yeah. So yeah, I like good on Slovenia for making it. it's a stark contrast from last year with Lebedew, and yeah, I think this is a really good build up for them for the Euro Championships. And let's be honest, if there's one tournament where Slovenia
That's their
shines,
tournament.
it's the Euros.
That's
They love getting silver at the Euro.
They love it so much. It's just their favorite. Last but not least is France. We kind of talked about them a bit. They're the reigning champions. They had to work really hard to even get into the playoffs. I wish that they hadn't. It would make me feel a lot better about about the U.S.'s quarterfinal match. Now, the U.S. did 3-dong them on Saturday night. That was nice to see. I agree with you. I think if Irvin Ingapeth was here, that would be a complete X factor. But from what we're hearing, he will not be. I have not been impressed with Antoine Brizard. I do not think that Antoine Brizard has had a particularly good tournament.
Okay, fair enough. I'll be perfectly honest, I haven't really watched enough of France this year. Like, if there's one team I've watched very little of the elite teams, it's going to be France. So I can't really speak to that without sounding like a potential stooge.
And we do
I don't
like
wanna
to avoid stoogery on this program.
Exactly. So I know since we're homies with Piazza now that we are looking for a new King Stooge. I just don't want that to be me by sitting here and talking shit about Brizard when I haven't really watched him play. So if you say you haven't really been impressed with him, I'm gonna defer to you and trust you on that one.
Okay, fair enough. France, however, did beat Serbia 3-1 in an absolute must-win game that pretty much decided who is going to get that 8th playoff spot. And they did that. They beat them 3-1. They were better than Serbia, and they were clutch in overtime in the 4th in that match. So good for France. They're going to be scary for me, especially as far as an 8th seed goes. But I do think that without Irvin Ingapeth, they lose. They lose an X factor in defense. They lose an X factor in out of system attacking. And just like, I mean, we saw him last year, his first contact, dude. His first contact. Yeah, exactly. It makes France an infinitely better team in first contact in receiving defense. And without that, I feel comfortable enough playing them again. I think Gianni's been a little bit indecisive about what he's been doing with France's lineup throughout this VNL, and but I'm still scared of them. I'm not taking France for granted by any means.
Yeah, some S31 in the chat just says France is a team that gets better when things get serious, and I fully agree with that.
That's true.
However, I do think that the catalyst for that is the swaggiest of the swagsters, Mr. Irvin Ingapeth. So it's going to be a good match, but I'm still pulling for the USA in that one.
All right, let's move on to the bottom half of the standings, teams that did not make the playoffs. We can talk about Serbia. Serbia went 2-2 this week. It wasn't quite enough. They finished 6-6. I think France also 6-6, and then got them by like 3 points. So Serbia just not quite good enough throughout the preliminary round. Congratulations, though, to Marko Pedrašinin, who broke Serbia's all-time record for most caps, most appearances for the Serbia national team. So good for him. He is a legend, but Serbia's tournament ends here. Drazen Ljuburic was their best player by far. Kovacevic was there in week 3, but we really hardly saw him. I don't know if he really even played a match. And I just wasn't as impressed with Serbia's outside hitters. Marko Ivovic looks old. Miran Kujundžić was pretty good. Pavle Peric wasn't as good as we saw him last year. And with a brand new setter and a brand new libero, Serbia, I mean, getting to the playoffs would have been kind of their ceiling. There's no way they would have won a game in the playoffs, and now they just kind of get an extra week off to prepare for Euros. And honestly, that's not the worst thing.
No, I mean, to me, this Serbian team is just no longer elite. You know, there was a time when you could have them amongst the elite teams, and that just isn't anymore. Kujundžić was, to me, one of their best outside for sure throughout this event. And Ljuburic is just too hot and cold. Like, he scores a lot of points, yes, but his efficiency is pretty low. So I don't see Serbia being better than any of the top teams ahead of them. Hell, I think I'd even pick the Dutch, and I'd even pick the Netherlands before I pick Serbia. In general, like, I think those are two teams that are moving opposite. So good for Serbia to be in the mix, but there was a minute there when I was like looking at it, and I was just like, it would feel wrong for Serbia to be in, and like France and the Dutch to be out. But yeah, I don't really see it from Serbia. They don't really scare me all too much. I mean, as Canada, I can't really say anything. Like, everyone is better than most teams are better than us right now. But yeah, like Serbia is like, do I see them as a threat at Euros? No. Do I see them do I say make them in the Olympics? No.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it's all you need to say is that I was hoping so badly for Serbia to make the playoffs so that we could stomp them in the quarterfinal. I think that's
Yeah.
kind of all you need to say. Speaking of teams that missed out, the Dutch. This is a bummer.
Oh.
This is a bummer. They went 1-3 this week. They had a really hard schedule. They got 3-0 by Slovenia in a match that they really needed to win. We were impressed by the Dutch in Ottawa. I mean, Namir is the man. He led the tournament in scoring, but we liked their outside hitters as well. I was impressed with kind of the more completeness of the Netherlands than the one-man show that we've kind of been making the joke that they were the last couple of years. But they had an opportunity in week 3 in the Philippines to show that just to beat other good teams to get into the playoffs, and they just couldn't quite do it. Like, looking at them at finishing at 5-7 just kind of surprises me. Like, I really feel like they were better than that, but the numbers don't show it.
Yeah, I think they stumbled a few times down the stretch. If we look at this last week, this last week was really a chance for them to get on board. Like not beating Slovenia, I think hurt them, and I think definitely hurt them in that last match. Had they been able to beat Slovenia, it would have made things interesting. They lost to Serbia in the last match of last week at home in Rotterdam.
Yeah, that was tough.
I really think when you look at where it kind of derailed, it was in Rotterdam. Like, they went up 2-0 on Poland, couldn't finish the job. They lost at home, like they were up 2-1. They had that crazy set that they ended up losing 35-33 in the fourth to Serbia, and they lost that one. Like,
a lot of 5-set losses.
A lot of 5-set losses, and even going to 5 with Iran, and then going 1-3, just not great. There's a few losses left on the table there, namely the ones against Serbia and Slovenia, which are the teams that are kind of in their bracket for me right now.
Yep, I think that's a really good assessment. Netherlands, Serbia, Slovenia. I think those are the 7, 8, 9, 10-ish teams in the world, and when they play each other, those matches are really significant. And the Netherlands went 0-2 against those two teams, and that kind of killed their tournament. Moving on to Germany, I don't have anything to say about Germany. They were most of the tournament, they looked like trash. They did play a couple good games this week. They 3'd on Cuba, good for them, great, whatever. They're a core team. They were kind of. And Bulgaria, great, whatever. They didn't care so much about this VNL. I think when they get Zenger back at libero, that will help. Their outside hitter play really needs to improve, and maybe they can catch fire for Euros. Maybe they can convince Grozer to come and play a game, because their opposite position hasn't been good either.
No,
but
he's not it.
No, he's not.
Like, this to me, over the past decade, we've known Germany to be a very solid and a very good team. I think they got 4th back at the World Championships in 2015, I believe. I believe that
sounds right.
Is when
it's either the 14 or the 18 one. 14, they got 14. To the semifinals, and then I think they got second at Euros one of those years too.
Yeah, it's possible. But looking at this German roster, it just doesn't inspire much hope. They've got some nice, decent pieces on the left side, but no one that really blows you out of the water. Like, no one that is truly fantastic. Weber on the right side he's hit or miss. I learned essentially, like, he was like a swimmer for a while, and then he's
really
just, in the past few years, he's switched to volleyball, which explains a lot. Explains why he swings so well cross court. But other than that, like, his volleyball skills just aren't there to be elite. He doesn't really have a long shot. He doesn't really have any off-speed things. He kind of reminds me in a certain ways of a really young Gavin Schmidt, but I don't see that physicality and that that desire to get better that Gavin had, especially in his early years. I don't see Germany. Like, Germany is just going to be. I think right now you're going to see a lot of these, like, kind of middling teams with Germany and Canada and Iran, Bulgaria, Serbia, the Dutch. Like, I think there's going to be a second or maybe even tertiary tier here of teams that are pretty good, but just need something more. And that's what Germany is to me.
Teams that will need kind of a miracle to qualify for the Olympics. I think that's that group right there. And I definitely don't see it for Germany. I'm not sure where their world ranking is, but it's definitely not promising for them to get to Paris. And I mean, they 3-9 is just not that good of a tournament. It's just not that good of a tournament.
And I mean, like, they just figured it out. To be honest, it should be 2-2 2-10. They should have lost to us. I'm still bitter about that. I truly am. But hey, it is what it is. Like they beat the crappy teams that they needed to beat. They beat Bulgaria and they beat Cuba at the end of the day.
Anton Brema though is a monster. I love him.
He's the only one worth watching.
Yeah, I love him. And Johannes Tila as well. I really liked setting and Kampa because he gets ladies. That's just what he does.
Kampa's a dude. So love that. But you're right. Johannes Tila, his hands so nice. He dishes a great offense. And I'm interested to see where he's going to be playing club.
I think Berlin again. I think he's going to be the guy for Berlin for another year, which is great.
Fair enough. A real on the world rankings journey is currently at 15. Is this the men? Yes, this is the men.
Ooh.
They're in 15th right now, about a point and a half ahead of Canada.
Okay. Speaking of Canada, Everett, congratulations, buddy.
This is a big FU to everyone in the Discord who was giving me shit. And like literally as the game was coming up on Saturday night, I was just like, I'm not going to go on the Discord because I'm like, I already know they're going to try to go after me. They're going to try to trigger me. This one started sketchy. We lost that first set. The second set was pretty close, but you could just tell that at the beginning, there was just nerves going on. Like Canada was just kind of holding back. And then we just started unloading. And I truly think that this week was our best week of VNL.
I think it was too.
Excluding that first loss to the Dutch, we pushed Italy to 5 in a fantastic match where we finally saw, like, I think we play at our best when we have the underdog mentality, when we have that third line grinders type of mentality. And you kind of saw that weight come off us against Italy. And they're like, hey, yeah, we can ball with these guys. Like we can go with these guys and we can go with one of the best teams in the world. And we truly did. I was upset that had we been able to pull out that win, it would have been fantastic. Didn't happen. And then against Poland, like we put out the young ones out there. Hell, Sam Cooper, hasn't started a match this entire VNL, led us in scoring with 18 points. It was Sam Cooper and Brody Hofer out there. And at first it looked like it was going to get ugly. I think in the first set we were down like 8-4 at one point. Then we pulled it back. We fought with them and kind of went point for point. Yeah, sure, we got 3 donged by a very good Polish team who on paper should be the number 1 team in the world and is ranked. They're still ranked number 1. Yeah, they're still ranked number 1. But our young guns went out there and balled. I really enjoyed that, and it was a good game to watch. Like I always thought we were going to be able to push it, and then once we got into that China game, as I said, things started slow, but we really started to get better throughout the entirety of that match. And hey, like part of me is really happy. We've stayed in VNL and we've managed to survive another year. Means that we're going to be hanging out in Ottawa again next year, and you gotta love that. So I'm saying it now. Discord Volleyball Source meetup next year in Ottawa. Make sure you're there. Ronnie, if Cuba is playing in Ottawa and you don't show up, you're banned from the Discord.
Banned.
You are not allowed in the Discord. You are not allowed. Like.
Him and all of his alt accounts, all of them banned.
Him and his alt accounts. You are absolutely banned. But the other side of it is, what's next?
Great question.
What's next for Team Canada? Because we're kind of middling in this, just on the cusp of being irrelevant again. And especially with the dumbass NORCECA rules. So right now, like the NORCECA Champions Cup, like if you won the qualifier tournament this summer, it's for next summer's, like to go to next summer's Challenger Cup.
Oh no!
Right?
Why is that the case?
Absolutely. So if Cuba or Canada were to be relegated this year, they would only be able to be in the Challenger Cup in 2025. Right.
Oh, so you're out of VNL for at least a year.
No, it's 2
right?
Years. Because you don't. If they were to be, they would have to play the NORCECA event in 2024, be the Challenger Cup in 2025, and then wouldn't be able to be back in the VNL until 2026.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Right? So it's masked for the fact that we stayed in, but kind of like what's next. I know there's so many questions around this roster without having Eric Lepke and without having Riley Barnes. I think those two in our roster would have been good for 2 more wins, right? So
I think
somewhere
so.
somewhere along the right line. If we have those 2 guys, we beat Germany and Ottawa in week 1. And I think if we have those guys, we push a team like maybe Slovenia. We don't just empty the bench out against Slovenia. Maybe against the Dutch this week. I think if those 2 guys are there, it's good for 2 more. Maybe we push it against Italy, right? If we have one more guy to be able to come off the bench. But it's what's next? Is Samuel Vuo going to stay? I think that's a big question. Can we qualify for, I think that there's a very, very outside chance of us being able to qualify for the Olympics. So there's a lot of question marks for me in all of this. And yes, I'm happy that we're staying, but at the same time, it's kind of like, what direction is this team going in? What's it going to look like? And I think that there's a lot of those questions still to be unanswered. There's a lot of volleyball left to be played this summer, with still two more events, and we're going to get to see them up close and personal once again in Charleston at Norseca's. But still, a lot of question marks for me for this Team Canada. But I do like the progression that I saw come. Don't worry, don't get me wrong. I had some nervous moments in between week 2 and week 3. There was some dark thinking there. But luckily we've been able to figure it out.
Yeah, so this, just looking at the stat sheet from this China match, which Canada won 3-1, this was some pretty sloppy nonsense, really bad reception from both teams. But how about some of these offensive performances for Canada? I mean, Danny Demyanenko, 8 for 9, and with 4 blocks, that's 6. Stephen Marr, 14 for 22, 50% efficiency. Ryan Slater, 20 for 36. These were really, really good individual offensive performances for Canada now it's against China. China stinks. So you should be able to score against this team. And they shut down Zhang Xuan, the opposite, who hit negative efficiency. Zhang Jingyin's going to get his because he's awesome. He's legitimately really, really good on the international stage. But Canada did a good job containing literally everybody else. And 52% efficiency as a team is a nice confidence builder for Luke Herr. I think that's another part of this equation that we've got to continue to talk about is the setter. And to have her, 52% as a team, even against China like that, you've got to feel really good about that going into the rest of the summer.
Especially those last 2 sets of volleyball were some of our best volleyball we've played all summer.
Yeah, right? 17, 18. Get out of here.
It was dominant. We were serving strong. We were good in transition. We were good in serve, in serve receive in those 2 sets. I wish they had the sets kind of switched up a little bit there. But yeah, it gave me a little bit more confidence moving forward for sure. And now hopefully we're going to be able to add, I'm pretty sure Barnes is off the table for all summer, but I do think that Lepke is a potential to come back for Norseca champs and the Olympic qualifiers later on. But yeah, I think right now it's clear to me that Luke Herr is the starting setter of this team, and that's not going to change. I think Danny Demyanenko consistently was our best player over the course of VNL. If there's one guy who showed up game in and game out, for me it was Danny Demyanenko. So love seeing him on the roster. How did he finish here in scoring overall?
I'm not sure. Those middles are usually pretty far down the list, so I didn't scroll down that far. But I agree. I thought Danny had an awesome tournament.
80 points. The fact that there's 2 opposites that we can go to with Slater and Schwartz who bring different looks. I think there's some good things. I found it was interesting that we were going with Louis in that last match instead of landing Curry.
Mm-hmm.
I think Louis did a pretty good job. There was admittedly a few balls that fell around him that I was wondering, I think Landon could have got those. But I think Simon Vuo might know better than us, just from just watching streams and stuff like that. But yeah, it was good. I'm interested to see what happens with this team moving forward, though. I do like how much we played some of our younger guys, though, right? Hofer, Melser, Cooper all got a lot of play, and now Luke Herr is now definitely the starting setter for this program.
Yeah, I think that Samelville learned a lot from that Ottawa week when you guys played the starters against the U.S. and maybe paid the price for it in the Germany game the following day. I think he figure that out, and then the following 2 weeks, he put the young guys out there for one match in each of those 2 weeks. Got him some great touches. Knew which matches to prioritize, and you got that win. You got the win over China here, and you got who'd you beat in week 2? Bulgaria, I think. Yeah, you beat Bulgaria 3-1.
Yeah, we beat the 3 challenger teams that we needed to beat.
Yep,
right?
exactly.
We beat Cuba, Bulgaria, and China, which is great. I want to see us get a win against a legitimate team, right? And really the fact that we didn't even push anyone until we pushed Italy, like it was either a win or a loss for us until that Italy game. And that's why I like that Italy loss a little bit more than others, obviously.
Definitely. Well, yeah, good for Canada. I love that team. I'm a huge fan of all those guys, and I'm a huge fan of going to Ottawa. So I'm stoked that we'll get to do that next year. Back to the standings. We can run through these last couple teams. Doesn't really matter. Cuba looked rough this week at times. They did pick up a 5-set win over Iran. Great, whatever. I mean, they had to play a stupid tournament in El Salvador last week. So now hopefully they can finally get some time off. Iran didn't have their guys, so they went 0-4. Whatever. Bulgaria looked really bad in a couple moments, including last night against the U.S., but they did get the 5-set win over Iran to save themselves from relegation. And then we already talked about China. China was a one-man team. Zhang Jingyin is incredible, and I hope that he continues to have good club success, but I'm not going to miss China and VNL.
No, they're very, very forgettable.
Very forgettable.
Even the way that they kind of just crumbled in front of us just kind of shows that this team is like, I wanted to see more fight from China. I really, really did in that last match. Trust me, there was a large part of me that was just like, yes, that's it. Crumble, die. You got 3 down by a team that lost to Denmark, and you guys deserve to be out. But the other part of me was just like, I wish there was a little bit more. I wish this was a little bit more. And I mean, S31 in the chat, in my opinion, Czech Republic, better than China and Bulgaria. And that's
I don't know about that.
That's not even including teams like
Ukraine
Turkey and
Turkey,
yeah. Ukraine, exactly. So
yeah, I think who oh my goodness, someone just donated us $10. It says, feel bad for Everett. Here's some Putin money. That's amazing. I didn't even know you could do that.
that's the first time that's ever happened. Thank you.
Someone just donated to the YouTube
screen.
Thank you. That's incredible. How very generous of you, Everett. You need to post a photo in the Discord later of you eating Putin.
Okay. Deal. Absolutely.
Yeah, not that I have to twist your arm on that one.
I mean, I need to find good poutine though. That's the problem because I'm in Toronto, right? You know,
awesome.
it's like trying to find deep dish in California.
Which, yeah, I would never touch that with a pole of any length. So
exactly.
All right. I don't know. Well, what else is there to talk about the men's side? I mean, we'll obviously preview the finals in more detail on next week's show. You want to look at some statistics leaders? I mean, I was looking through some of the individual stats. I mean, breaking news: Namir Abdelaziz really is good at scoring points. He led the tournament in scoring. We already kind of talked about Loser and how much better he was at blocking than everybody else on the planet this tournament. What other conclusions did you have from sort of the individual stats list for the preliminary round?
Ooh, let me pull these up right now. To nobody's surprise, I think Ishikawa is really coming into being one of the best players in the game right now.
Yep,
like
I agree.
Stat-wise, just the eye test, everything. He's so much fun to watch. He was third in scoring with 205 points. It's pretty damn good. He's a lot of fun to watch. Herrera surprisingly up there as well.
Second in the tournament in scoring. He was, I think, tied for second in aces, which doesn't surprise me. When he's on from the service line, that is one of the best serves on planet Earth.
Yeah, absolutely it is. So, yeah, I'm trying to think if like anyone really surprised me. To me, it was just kind of all of the usual suspects. Like we didn't even have something like last year.
Out fifth in aces. That surprised me. But other than that, I kind of agree. It was sort of the usual suspects.
Yeah, it was sort of the usual suspects. We didn't even have someone like Amin who kind of like really surprised us and kind of sprang onto the scene last year. So Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
do we have a breakout player? Like, is there a breakout player who came out of nowhere this VNL?
I'm gonna call Landon Curry.
Yeah, okay. Hey, I like
Like
that
that,
pick.
that to me is the only he's the only true rookie who came out here and did good things. Like I would, I I really think that Landon Curry showed up very, very well. And he gave me a lot of confidence for our national team moving forward. That may be a little bit biased, but he was making some fantastic digs throughout the entire tournament. And that's why I was a little surprised to see that we were going with Louis at the end. But I think if it was anyone, this may be biased, so maybe we can let the chat and the Discord decide a little bit more. I think if there had to be a breakout player, it would have to be Landon Curry.
I've got a
Also
couple. Yeah, Brema, I think counts. Basil just put that in the chat. That's who I
Brema,
was.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
Brema
who I was
for
going to say because he hasn't really played for
establishing himself.
Germany before.
Yeah, establishing himself as an elite middle.
Yeah.
As an elite, and I would have to say too, and like we talked about it at the beginning, was Lozère. Right.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of being a breakout, like we've always known Lozère was good, but now we know he's exceptional.
Yeah. And I also was going to say Honorato. So John in the chat just put that up as we talked about him for Brazil. I think those are the only three, but no one even close to like what we saw from Amin last year or some other like players that come out of nowhere in the past.
Polonsky?
Okay, sure. Yeah, I would give you Polonsky. I mean, 4th in aces. He's going to the Plus Liga next year. He's legit. He's legit.
Yeah. So yeah, I think Rand and Polonsky, those are good ones. Honorato, Brema, Curry.
Miura from Japan, maybe.
Miura,
We saw him last year in VNL that first week when Nishida didn't play that much. Yeah, I think that counts. I think that counts. He was good. He had a really good tournament. Slovenia
sure.
Libero Kovacic, not a breakout player at all. He's been there forever and is really good.
He's
really
elite
good.
for a while now.
Yeah, Yanni Kovacic is awesome. Serbia's Libero, don't even know who it is. New guy, wasn't that impressed. So I don't know if that counts. Okay, I think, Everett, that might do it for the men's preliminary round. I think before we talk about women's finals, which is coming up this week, we've got a couple other very important things. One of which is that volleyball.store.
100%. Make sure to I really hope I'm not on our view. I was paused with a really bad double chin there. So I really hope that's not what you guys are seeing on the stream. Yeah, head over to that volleyball.store. Use the code SPICY at 15% off your order. That's where you can get all your official volleyball source, spicy volleyball, and 9x9 merch.
Speaking of spicy, we talked about it earlier, but give our one of our new Instagram accounts a follow at Spicy Veebs, VEEBZ. It's good regurgitated memes from the Volleyball Source Discord, curated by our good buddy Bassie. Very, very funny, and some of the international players are starting to take notice and starting to like and comment on the memes, and it's growing pretty nicely. I'm a huge fan of it, so give that a follow. And of course, it's time to talk about Where's Daddy, because somewhere in this show, my absolute hero, Daddy Stankovic, has appeared. Well, maybe he has appeared, or maybe he will appear in the second half of the show. But when you find Daddy Stankovic hidden in one of our graphics, you need to comment where he is in the main YouTube comment section after the stream is over. And if you're the first one to do that, you get a shout out on the following week's show. So, as many of you saw on last week's show, or last Thursday's show, we were just talking about Canada losing in 4 to the Netherlands. And as you can see there, towards the left side of that Netherlands celebration, you can see Daddy Stankovic suiting up for one of his many new national teams this summer, because that's where
this man just plays for everyone.
He plays for everyone. So Daddy Stankovic is there on the left, celebrating with the Netherlands. Our friend Jackson Jr. from Brazil was the first guy to comment where he was, but several other people. Paul is awesome, referred to him as Father Stankovic, which I really like, just kind of like giving a like religious figurehead image to Daddy Stankovic, which I like. Yeah, I mean, like they call all the, I don't know, like in the Catholic Church, they call them Father. I don't know. I'm not Catholic. I don't know this stuff. But yeah, Daddy Stankovic was here with the Netherlands. I have a great time hiding Daddy Stankovic in our various graphics. So if you find Daddy on this show, either before this segment or after, make sure you comment where he is and you get a shout out next week.
In the comments after. Don't do it in this chat here.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like,
it won't get you anything.
Not telling you where Daddy is, but if you don't put him in the YouTube live chat, you got to put him in the main YouTube comments section in order to get that shout out.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. All right, Rob. I think it's time. Oh, also give this video a like.
Yeah,
There's
please
only
do that.
there's only 34 likes. Right? We've had over 700 people tune into the show and only 34 likes. Show us some love. Show us some love. Also, shout out to T20's Grunt real quick for that donation there. That's never happened before.
No, we weren't even asking for it. He just kind of did it. That was great. Thank you very
But
much.
if you guys want to do that, you can, or support us in that way, you can either buy some merch over on thatvolleyball.store, or you can also join our membership. It doesn't really get you much. We might have to revamp that a little bit. You can use Kenny McGraw in the chat. You can see he's one of our members. That's why he has a symbol beside his name.
Yeah, he's got from the Cuban Spike tier list. That's how we set that up a while ago.
Exactly.
Gracias por participar.
Exactly. But yeah, now we are moving forward to the women's game, where we have the women's finals going on this week in Arlington, Texas. Super excited to get going. When does it start? Wednesday? I believe it starts Wednesday afternoon, which is really great for us, not so great for all of our European friends. So you're just going to have to tune in and watch it here with us. Rob, United States of America are going in as the number 2 seed. They take on Japan. We've also got Poland versus Germany, Brazil versus China, and Turkey versus Italy. I know we just talked about the men's possibility of winning. Where are we seeing the women's possibility of winning in this event?
What, the U.S. women? Oh man! Now we're playing at home. They're playing in Texas. That will be a big event. It'll be huge crowds. Texas loves volleyball. That we just had UT win the NCAA last year. I'm curious to see the sort of the behind the scenes and some of the off the court aspects of the event itself. And because we didn't really talk about the Anaheim event, but there were a lot of complaints about the fans in Anaheim. There were 30-minute lines for parking. There were 1-hour lines for security to even get into the gym. My buddy Patrick Ross, shout-outs to him. He plays for one of the VLA teams, really good player. He was there. He said he showed up an hour. He was in line an hour before the U.S. versus France game in Anaheim and still missed the first set because of how long it took those people to get through the security line. And the security people were being psychotic about the way people were cheering. They weren't allowing people to wear scarves, which is ridiculous. Weren't allowing people to interact with the players after the game. So figure it out, USA Volleyball and Volleyball World, as far as running the event goes. I heard a lot of bad things about Anaheim. I'm really hoping that the Arlington event is better. Really, really hoping the Arlington event is better. I think that just based on the venue that it might be. But as for the on-the-court stuff for the U.S. women, I think we were learning the other day that our outside hitters will be Ali Franti, Avery Skinner, Kalia Lanier, and Kelsey Robinson. So no Catherine Plummer, no Kara Bayama, and I was just kind of surprised about the choices at outside, but Skinner and Lanier were really good all VNL. Other than that, the usual suspects for the U.S.
Wow.
Right. I think that we'll beat Japan. I think that we'll beat Japan, no problem. But then we get the winner of Turkey and Italy, and which will be Turkey for sure, because Italy's sending the B team. Us versus Melissa Vargas in that semifinal is going to be one of the highest level women's volleyball matches we've seen in a while. And I'm really, really excited to see how we game plan about how we game plan against that team, how we try to shut her down, how we try to put pressure on the Turkish outside hitters. I don't know. I obviously would like to pick the U.S. I think the home crowd is going to help. I think the U.S.'s mental preparation is the best in the world, like I've said for a while under Coach Karai's leadership. But can we win this tournament? I really hope so. I really hope so. We were so good in 2021, obviously. We were not good at all last year. I think this is a rebound year for the U.S., and I think we've got the combination of experience and youth, explosiveness. I think we've got a chance. I think we've really got a chance, and we've got a decent enough bracket draw. Our bracket draw for the women is much better than the men, for sure.
Fair enough. It's still tough any way you look at it. And as we talked about the men, like once you get to this point, it is difficult. Kind of surprising that we're not seeing I think Plummer, we've seen kind of time and time again that she gets left off of these lists for the USA when it gets down to the nitty gritty. especially with how we've seen her kind of implode in big games for Canigliano over the past few seasons. For me, Carabiam is a little bit more interesting. I thought we would have seen her, but hey, it is what it is, I guess. But you're right. I think that first round matchup against Japan should be a good one. But then the real matchup is against potentially Turkey afterwards. That's also a team that's been looking to. It's also dangerous for you guys because it's a team that's looking to establish themselves in the volleyball world, and they haven't made a final yet, right?
No.
Like this Turkish team hasn't made a final. So if they were able to do it against the US at home with Santarelli at the helm, with Vargas now, like this is a team that's looking to make their mark, and I think this is a chance here for Turkey to do so, and the U.S. is standing in their way. So I agree. I think that semifinal matchup is going to be spicy any way you look at it.
And people in the chat are talking about that when we beat Turkey in I think it was week 1. It was with Lanier and Skinner on the outsides, and that does make sense to bring those two for potentially for that matchup again. Yeah, that was a really nice win, but week 1 of VNL is very different than the VNL finals, and I'm scared of Santarelli. I think he's the only coach on the planet that rivals Karch Kurai. I think you might even pick Santarelli over Karch Kurai at this point, but it'll be a great test of the American system. We don't have we have Jordan Thompson, who is incredible, but we don't have a Melissa Vargas. We don't have individual players quite like that. Can the American system triumph at home against all the other various superstars in the world? Now, Vargas is kind of the only one we really have to worry about because we know that Egonu won't play for Italy, and we know that Serbia didn't make the playoffs. So Stisiak, true.
Right, she was the leading scorer in the preliminary round for Poland, and I mean Poland's the number 1 seed. I think we need to, in this context, have Stisiak amongst that.
Totally fair.
Level.
Yeah, definitely. And it'll be a lot of familiar faces, a lot of familiar matchups. The U.S. lost a crazy 5-setter to Poland, and I think it was week 3. Good volleyball there in case that happens to be the final. But I think it's worth making our picks on this, Everett. We should pick every match, every round, and set scores, and see who's closer to being right after this thing. I'm actually going to write them down here in our show.
Yeah, I was literally going to say, give me a second here to grab a piece of paper and a pen, because we need to be better at writing these predictions down. We've done predictions for literally everything this VNL, and we haven't written anything down. And I mostly think I've been predicting better than you, and I want to prove that.
Oh, okay. Well, let's see.
Yeah.
Do you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
I want you to go first because I'm literally gonna draw out a quick little bracket here.
Okay. I'm gonna write them down in the show notes. I've got Poland 3-1 over Germany in the first game. I think that game is going to be really good. We talked about it on last week's show when the bracket was set that could be as good of a 1-8 match as we've ever really seen, especially on the women's side, because I like Germany a lot, but I do think Poland is playing well enough, and it sounds like that they're gonna get Joanna Wołosz, who is the best setter on the planet, back for the VNL final. So I've got Poland in 4. I've got the USA 3-0 over Japan. And I think that we take care of Japan no problem. I think that playing at home, we know the matchup. I think Japan with our general skill, attention to detail, and just way better size across the board, I think that's a very beatable team for us. So I've got the USA 3-0 over Japan. I've got, China versus Brazil is one that I'm struggling with. I think that game is going to be really good. I think that in a normal year, it would be pretty easy to pick Brazil. But Brazil, in the last couple of weeks, even once they got Gabi back, have just not looked very good. Their opposite position has been a mess. Their setter position has been a mess. Oh, man. But Brazil is Brazil, and Brazil sometimes just comes out of nowhere and makes weird miracle runs in playoffs. So I'm going to take Brazil 3-1 over China. Brazil.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that one.
I'm going to take Brazil 3-1 over China, and I'm going to take Turkey Turkey over Italy's B team for sure. Does Italy's B team take a set? I think that Italy's B team can take a set. I'm going to take Turkey 3-1 over Italy in the round of 8 there. So that's my picks for the quarterfinal. So that means it would be Poland versus Brazil and the United States versus Turkey. I'm going to take
That's what I have too.
Okay. Oh, hey, yeah, there you go. You got a little miniature bracket. I've got, let's see. I'm going to take Poland over Brazil in 5. I'm going to take Poland 3-2 over Brazil, and I'm going to take the United States 3-2 over Turkey. I think we might have 2 5-set bangers in the semifinals. I think those are going to be sick matches. Those are both going to be on Friday, by the way. Yeah, I've got Poland in 5 over Brazil, USA in 5 over Turkey, and then for the medals, I've got Brazil 3-1 over Turkey for bronze. I think that Turkey might come up short in the bronze medal match 2 years in a row, and I've got the United States 3-1 over Poland in the final. So I've got Brazil bronze, Poland silver, United States gold.
This one's a little bit tougher for me.
Okay.
So I went for the quarterfinals. I more or less have the same. Poland 3-1 over Germany. Are you writing all these down?
I am.
Okay, good. Yeah, Poland 3-1 over Germany. I'm going Brazil 3-2 over China. That one's going to go 5. USA 3-1 over Japan. And then Turkey 3-0 over Italy.
Okay.
In the semifinals, I'm going Turkey 3-2 over USA.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Okay.
I just think it's going to happen. Also because I wanted to do something a little. I don't want you and I to have the same.
Yeah, fair enough.
So but I also think, as we've said multiple times throughout this VNL, it is hard to beat a team twice in one event.
True.
And Karch and Team USA have already beat Turkey. And for the reasons I said before, I think this is a bigger match for Turkey than it is for Team USA, despite playing at home. Poland and Brazil is a tough one for me, though.
It is a tough one, dude.
I think it's a tough one for me. Real quick, do we know if Ana Cristina is back for Brazil? Or
no, definitely not. She's done for VNL.
Then I'm gonna go 3-2 for Poland.
Okay. I also have 3-2 for Poland. I think both of those semis are going to be unbelievable.
Yeah. In the bronze medal match, I'm going USA 3-1 over Brazil.
Yep. It could be USA 3-1 over Brazil. And then how about Turkey and Poland, a big rivalry game? That would be a crazy final if it happened.
It would be a crazy final, and I'm going Turkey 3-1 over Poland.
Really? So you've got Turkey winning the Volleyball Nations League. Very interesting. Okay. All right. I've got all these written down. We'll circle back on this on next week's show after women's finals to see who is closer to being right about this. Everett's got Turkey. I've obviously got the United States. There's no way I was going to pick against us. We've both got Brazil over China, but of the quarterfinals, I think that's going to be of the things that we're likely to get wrong in the round of 8. I think that's the one. I think that is a huge wild card sort of corn flip game, and it depends on which Brazil shows up. But I do have faith in Brazil in a playoff situation more than I do in China.
That's once we get to the playoffs, this is a team that's well coached by one of the best in the world. This is a team that has quality. If I want to bring up some recent turmoil, Gabby Guimaraes is still one of the best players in the game.
Fact,
right? Macris is still a fantastic setter. They might have the best middle duo with Carol and Thaisa in the middle. Like, this is still Brazil. Until Brazil shows us otherwise, Brazil is still Brazil. And
yes,
that's like we underestimated them last year at the World Championships. They made it to the final. Right. That's how this team works. So until they lose in a playoff match like this, I'm still gonna think Brazil is gonna be good.
Okay. That's not crazy at all. So the schedule, we get things started on Wednesday, 2 days from now, July 12th. Poland versus Germany, 5 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday. United States versus Japan, 8:30 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday. Then the other two round of 8 games on Thursday. China versus Brazil is at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. I don't really understand that one. And then Turkey versus Italy, 3 p.m. Eastern. Then the semis on Friday, 5 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. Eastern. the medal matches on Saturday, 3 p.m. and 6:30 p.m. Eastern. So check out, you can see the VNL website for all those games in your time zone. Everything's streaming on Volleyball World TV. Obviously, I'm very curious to see the fan turnout. I'm curious to see what sort of extra little details Volleyball World goes for the production of the finals, both in arena and on the broadcast. But I'm stoked for this. I think, and I'm hoping that the United States crowd shows up in the best possible way. We will not be there, unfortunately. That would have been really cool to be there in Texas, but we will not be there. We'll be watching from afar, just like the rest of you guys.
Yeah. I do kind of want to talk about kind of the attendance and stuff like that, because just going back to Anaheim this weekend, did Anaheim have a DJ? It truly seemed like there was no music being played in the crowd. Like, someone who was there needs to let us know. If you're in the chat right now and you're there, I mean, that probably not, like, it's only like a 9:30 for you on the west, you lazy people on the West Coast.
So they did, but I think that the way that the broadcast mixed their audio had a bunch of problems in both the Philippines and in Anaheim this week. Like the production quality of the commentator's voice and the in-arena sound, and just like the way that they mixed that was not very good. So I don't think it came through very well in the broadcast. There was definitely a DJ there, and our girl Bianca was there on the mic in the arena in Anaheim, which is great. But my issue is more in
doing backflips.
doing backflips, which is all.
She brought that one out early.
Yeah,
she waited for the weekend in Ottawa, but she was bringing that out in like day 2 in Anaheim.
That one always gets the people going. The attendance for non-USA games in Anaheim was dreadful. I thought it was very bad, which isn't that surprising because American volleyball fans, even for American games, don't often show up even for Team USA games. So no surprise that the attendance wasn't very good for those. But it did sound like for the weekend games, at the very least, the Friday game against Argentina and the Saturday game against France, it was basically sold out, at least in the lower bowl. But I was not impressed with that venue. It was really just a convention center in Anaheim. I heard bad things about it, and I heard that there's no way that VNL will be going back there. Even if we come back to Southern California, there's no way we go back to that particular venue with all the issues that there were.
Yeah, fair enough. It looked awkward. Even in that last game last night and some of their big games, like the upper bowl was very empty. I'm going to say it. I think Ottawa's a much better host
100%.
Than Southern California.
That's not even close at this point.
Yeah. So to all those people in the Discord saying that Ottawa shouldn't be a host, you just need to leave, please.
Or just go to the event and see it for yourself, because they do a much better job up there.
Absolutely. I would. Let's see if what we can do next year. Maybe we talk to TD Place and we can get like an area of tickets, like at the baseline somewhere. We just have
for Volleyball Source fans,
like a Volleyball Source party section. That would be pretty awesome. Real quick, also, Rob, Leal posted an hour ago on his Instagram story about him doing drills in Brazil uniform and gear and stuff like that. So that leads even more credence to the fact that Leal will be with that team in Poland for the finals.
Okay, very interesting. But before that, we've got women's finals that start on Wednesday. The finals are on Saturday. I assume we'll do a show either next Monday or Tuesday, one of the two, to react to the women's finals. Obviously, preview the men's.
Do you want to do one after the quarterfinals?
Not really.
When's the semifinals? Are on Friday?
Yeah, they're on Friday, like Friday evening. So, but I'm leaving for a wedding on Thursday in the middle of the day. But I'll be back on Saturday, obviously, to watch the finals. So just for
I will be at the beach on
nice.
Saturday, so I'll be watching them from the beach on Saturday.
So yeah, I think we just I think we've previewed well enough the women's finals. We've made our picks. I think we just come back to talk about who wins either on next Monday or Tuesday.
Fair enough. Sounds good. Love it.
All right, people. I think that's a show.
I think that is the show as well. Thank you very much for tuning in. The likes are looking pretty good. Once again, make sure to give this video a like. Make sure to let us know where's Daddy in the comments after the show. Also, make sure to check out that volleyball.store. Use the code SPICY for 15% off. people have been liking this video as well too, like little hearts in the chat. Love that.
Oh,
Love that.
that's so cute. I love little hearts. We
The
love all you
chat has been
guys.
so active recently. Love you guys having you guys in the chat.
Chat has been really active. I'm a huge fan of it. Continue that activity in the Volleyball Source Discord for sure. The link is in the description for that. It's the best online chat community in the world. Wait, is Friday really a day off? Did I get that wrong? Actually, yeah, it is. Huh. Okay, thanks, Paul. Thanks for correcting me in the chat on that one. I didn't catch that when I was looking at the dates. So yeah, yeah, great catch. All right, so quarters are Wednesday and Thursday. Friday is off. Saturday semis and Sunday medal matches. So thank you, Paul. Appreciate that. We will be back after Sunday to recap the women's finals. That actually makes it even easier for me to watch everything. I kind of like that.
Oh, this is for the men. Yeah. It doesn't do good for me because I have to work on Sunday. So,
well, you'll figure it out like you always do.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Yesterday it was boring at work, so I just like literally had my phone on the bar in front of me. It was great.
Watching the US B team 3-dong Bulgaria.
No, that was actually the France versus Germany match that I was watching it. I was watching it at the bar later when I was drinking. I was watching Bulgaria get 3-dong by the USA.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, that
emergency 9x9 if USA loses to Japan.
Yeah, you're not going to want to hear from me if the the US blows it in the round of 8 for the second year in a row. I would not like that.
To Japan.
Of all teams.
Exactly.
I would be hearing it from all angles. I would not like that very much. Fortunately, that's not going to happen. That will be a 3-dong. But yeah, we'll be back on either next Monday or Tuesday after we hand out a trophy on the women's side, and that's going to be sweet. So enjoy the games. We'll see you in the Volleyball Swiss Discord. Make sure, check us out everywhere you can check us out, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, a lot of love in the chat right now about what time we're doing the shows, Rob.
I think we should do next Monday, same time. I kind of like the time slot.
The 11 a.m. shows, we have a very active chat, and I love that.
Cool. Let's
right.
Let's keep it going. Thanks, people.
Also, T20's grunt, you're right. Big shout out to Andy Benish and Miles Partain taking down the beach volleyball Vikings and winning.
They beat Mole and Sorum. That was impressive.
Oh, look, you even know a little bit of beach there, Rob. Good for you.
People at Wapaka were talking about it. I don't care about the beach.
Oh, yeah, but, it was Wapaka. We didn't even mention Wapaka.
It was unbelievable. Yeah, it was unbelievable. Go watch all the games on Wapaka's YouTube channel. Out of system lost in the semis because they didn't have Mike Ama'a. They weren't quite as good. Shout outs to Tomas Goldsmith, Nolan Albright, Kyle Overby, and Aaron Lang for winning their first win ever. It was electric.
Love it. All right, guys, we will see you next Monday. That's so far away.
I like it. Thanks, people. Enjoy the women's finals. Go USA.
Peace.